Why kindness makes people disrespect you. Why is it that the kinder you are, the more some people seem to walk all over you? Could compassion, without boundaries, quietly be turning you into someone others disrespect? What if the path to true kindness isn't just about giving, but knowing when to say no? Why kindness makes people disrespect you in this way? True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Kindness is often celebrated as the highest virtue in ancient scriptures and modern wisdom alike. It is said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you cannot see yet in the quiet solitude of your heart. Have you ever wondered why acts of kindness sometimes seem to invite misunderstanding or disrespect? Why do people at times take advantage of those who are kind or dismissed their goodwill as weakness? This paradox is not new. The Buddha himself faced ridicule despite his infinite compassion. Zen masters too have long in this way. True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Taught that true kindness must be balanced with wisdom and discernment. This is a story and philosophical teaching about the intricate balance between kindness, wisdom, and the respect of others. The beginning of the journey. In a quiet and serene monastery, there was once a disciple who prided himself on being kind. He believed that his kindness was a reflection of his understanding of the teachings. Every day he went out of his way to help others, carrying the burdens of fellow disciples, offering his meal to the hungry, and never saying no to. In this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Request no matter how unreasonable his kindness at first earned him admiration. People spoke of his generosity and he basked in the glow of their praises. Yet over time something strange began to happen. The very people who once admired him began to grow indifferent. Some even began to exploit his kindness. They would leave their tasks undone knowing he would finish them. They would speak to him harshly, confident that he would not retaliate. One evening, disheartened and confused, the disciple approached his teacher, and in this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Old master, known for his wisdom, master, he said, "Why does my kindness bring me disrespect? Am I not following the teachings of compassion?" The master smiled gently and said, "Let me tell you a story, the tale of the river and the forest." Once the master began, there was a river that flowed through a dense forest. The river was generous, offering its water to quench the thirst of all who came. The animals drank from it, the trees grew strong by its side, and travelers rested on its banks. It never turned anyone away, but over time the animals began to muddy the. In this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Waters without care. The travelers, instead of resting, began polluting the river with their waste. The trees, growing strong, extended their roots into the river, drawing more water than needed. The river began to dwindle, its clear waters turning murky. It was then that the river spoke to the forest, "Why do you all treat me this way? I have given you life, yet you exploit my kindness." The forest replied, "Because you do not set boundaries, we assumed you did not mind the lesson of the river." The disciple listened intently. "Master," he asked, "what should be in this way?" True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. River have done. The master replied, "The river must learn That kindness without wisdom is like an overflowing cup. Too much generosity without limits leads to imbalance. True kindness must be rooted in awareness. It must know when to give and when to withhold, not out of selfishness but out of a desire for harmony. How do I practice this, Master? The disciple asked. The Master said, by understanding the nature of people and the world. The nature of people. The Master continued, are like mirrors reflecting what they perceive. When you are too kind without in this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Discernment. Some will see it as a virtue, others however will see it as a weakness. This is not because kindness is flawed, but because the human mind often mistakes silence for submission and generosity for lack of strength. The disciple pondered this. Are you saying I should stop being kind? The Master shook his head. No, stop being indiscriminately kind. There is a Zen saying, when helping others, do not lose yourself. To be truly kind, you must also respect yourself. A kindness that diminishes your spirit is not true kindness. It is in this way true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Self-sacrifice that leads to imbalance. The balance of Yin and Yang. The Master then shared a teaching from ancient philosophy. In life there is yin and yang, opposing but complementary forces. Kindness is like soft and nurturing, but it must be balanced by strength and firmness. Without kindness becomes weakness. Without strength becomes cruelty. The key is balance. The disciple asked, how can I achieve this balance? The Master smiled. By practicing mindful action. Before you act, ask yourself, is this kindness coming from strength, or is in this way? True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Is it an attempt to gain approval? Is my action empowering others, or is it enabling their lack of responsibility? True kindness uplifts both the giver and the receiver. The test of kindness. The next day the Master gave the disciple a task. Go into the village and offer help where it is needed, but this time be mindful. Watch how people respond and how you feel, then return and tell me what you learned. The disciple obeyed. At first he helped as he always did, saying yes to every request, but he soon noticed a pattern. Some people accepted his help in this way. True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. With gratitude while others demanded more, treating him as though his kindness was their right. Then he remembered the Master's words when faced with unreasonable demands. He politely declined mine. To his surprise, some people respected him more for it. They began to see him not as a servant but as an equal. Others who had been exploiting him grew angry, but he realized that their anger came from losing control over him, not from any true harm. Reflection on the teachings. The teachings of the Master reveal a truth often hidden in this way. True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Complexities of life. Kindness, while a noble virtue, is not enough on its own. It must be accompanied by discernment and self-respect. This reflection invites us to examine not only how we express kindness but also the underlying motivations and consequences of our actions. The mirror of self-awareness. To truly understand kindness, one must look inward. Why are we kind? Is it to alleviate another's suffering, to seek approval, to avoid conflict? In Zen philosophy, self-awareness is the foundation of all action. Without this clarity, even in this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Purest intentions can lead to unintended harm. Consider the disciple's initial approach. His kindness, though genuine, was unbalanced. It came from a desire to embody the teachings of compassion but lacked the strength to set boundaries. His story reflects the common mistake of equating kindness with self-sacrifice, a misunderstanding that often leads to resentment and exhaustion. The power of boundaries. Boundaries are not barriers, they are expressions of respect for oneself and others. When the disciple began to set boundaries, he discovered that not all in this way. True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Reaction were positive. Some people grew angry while others showed newfound respect. This duality mirrors the human condition, as the Master taught people perceive kindness through the lens of their own nature. Boundaries teach others how to treat us. They signal that our kindness is a choice, not an obligation, and that our value does not depend on our willingness to say yes to every man. In this way, boundaries transform kindness from a passive act to an empowered one. The balance between giving and receiving in Buddhist philosophy. Balance. In this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance. Nourishing others without losing oneself is a central theme. The act of giving must be balanced with the ability to receive. Kindness that flows only outward becomes unsustainable, like a river that never replenishes its source. The disciple learned that his kindness could not uplift others if it trained him by preserving his own energy and well-being. He could offer more meaningful support. This balance requires mindfulness before giving. Ask, is this action coming from abundance or depletion? Will it serve the greater harmony, or will it create dependence? True kindness uplifts both. In this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. The giver and the receiver fostering mutual growth. Compassion without attachment. One of the most profound Zen teachings is that compassion must be free of attachment. The Buddha himself taught that clinging to outcomes, even noble ones, leads to suffering. The disciple's initial kindness was tied to a desire for approval and harmony. When these expectations were unmet, he felt disrespected and disheartened. Through the Master's guidance, he learned to practice compassion without attachment by letting go of the need for. In this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Recognition or reciprocation. His kindness became an offering of his true self. In this state, even dissect could not disturb his inner peace, because his actions were no longer driven by external validation. Strength and softness. In Zen, softness is not weakness, it is a form of strength. Water, though soft, can carve mountains. Kindness, when rooted in self-respect and wisdom, is like water, gentle yet powerful. The disciple discovered that saying no did not diminish his compassion, it amplified it by ensuring that his kindness was purposeful. And in this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Sustainable. This principle applies to all aspects of life, whether in relationships, work, or community. Kindness should flow from a place of strength. It should inspire respect, not pity or exploitation. The balance of softness and strength creates harmony both within oneself and with others. The inner transformation. As the disciple reflected on his journey, he realized that the true transformation was within him. The disrespect he faced was not a reflection of his kindness but of the imbalance in his approach. By aligning his Actions within this way. True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Wisdom and self-awareness. He not only regained the respect of others but also deepened his respect for himself. This inner transformation is the essence of Zen practice. Life's challenges, like the paradox of kindness, are opportunities to grow through mindfulness. We learn to navigate these challenges with grace, turning obstacles into stepping stones, integrating the teachings into life. To integrate these teachings into daily life, consider the following practices. 1. Pause and reflect before offering kindness. Take a moment to in this way. True kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Reflect. Is this action coming from genuine compassion or a fear of rejection? Mindful awareness ensures that your kindness is intention and balanced. 2. Set boundaries with love. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to mutual respect. Practice saying no with kindness, knowing that it is an act of self-care and honesty. 3. Practice compassion without attachment. Let go of the need for recognition or reciprocation. True kindness is an offering, not a transaction. For balance, giving and receiving. Nurture yourself as you nurture. In this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Others. A depleted spirit cannot sustain compassion. Self-care is not selfish, it is essential. 5. Embody softness and strength. Cultivate a balance between gentleness and firmness. Let your kindness flow like water, adaptable yet unstoppable. The disciple's journey is a reflection of our own. We all face moments when our kindness is misunderstood or exploited. These experiences are not failures but opportunities to refine our understanding by balancing compassion with wisdom, setting boundaries with love, and practicing self-awareness. We in this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. Transform kindness into a source of strength and harmony. The Master's final words resonate deeply. A tree that bends with the wind does not break, but a tree that bends too much loses its roots. Let your kindness bend with the world, but never lose the roots of self-respect and wisdom. In this balance lies the true power of compassion. Thanks for watching. Hope enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell, so in this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself. You never miss an update. Also feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video. In this way, true kindness becomes a conscious act of balance, nourishing others without losing oneself.